All right, so Pitru Dosha, Pitru Paksha, and the associated remedies, right? Yeah, Pranam Rajendra ji. Okay, so first things first. So who are the Pitrus? Okay, so Pitru, the word Pitru actually comes from the word Pitra, which means father. Okay, but then in a broader perspective, the Pitrus are your ancestors who have crossed the earthly realm before you. Okay, so anyone you know or anyone whom you don't know but has belonged to your family generation, everyone is referred to as a Pitru, right? Now suppose there may be someone whose younger brother or whose younger sister has passed before them, then also they become a Pitru because they have been the first to cross over to the Pitru Loka before you. Okay, so they include generations of ancestors whom you may know or not know, and also those who have passed on before you, including young kids, siblings, and even pets. So someone may have a pet with whom they are very attached, right? And then that pet passes on to the next to the other realm. In that case, also the pet can become a Pitru. Okay, and if you are too much attached to the pet, or if you want that pet to to attain sadgati, right, to attain bliss in the onward journey. Sadgati is a very common term that is used by people who are followers of Hinduism. Okay, so sadgati means the journey towards the other realm. So we can ensure that even if our pets have died with whom we had a lot of attachment, we can ensure that they have a blissful onward journey by performing certain rituals on Pitru Paksha. Okay, now a few things which I have not mentioned in this slide because I want everyone to understand this, right? So whenever you write, something for example, if you're writing something for expressing your condolence, they never say that, or if you're expressing someone's death, they never say that this man passed away. Okay, you never pass away, you only pass on. Okay, you only pass on. That means there is a temporary stop during which the soul changes its body, just like someone is changing clothes. So that is a passing on, and this thing is common to all the cultures. Okay, passing on is common to all the cultures. Even in Urdu, there is a word which is known as intikal. Intikal means passing on, the in between phase. Okay, so no one passes away. Everyone is here because life is a continuum. Okay, life is a continuum. No one is passing away, right? They are just stopping temporarily to change their clothes. So in this case, it refers to getting a new body. All right. Okay. So the Sanskrit term for an ancestor is Pitru, which is also the etymological word for the Hindi word Pitha, meaning father, and also the English word paternal. So you can see how these words have been derived. Okay, so we have the popular adage. Of course, this is from Sanskrit. Pitru Devo Bhava. That means the father is divine, right? Now, the word Pitru is not limited to our father, but is an all-encompassing word, including forefathers across generations, and is also not gender-specific. Okay, so we do not have it's not that Pitru is a word only for a male member who has passed. It includes everyone who has passed and who belong to your generation or to your lineage. Right. So we had discussed this in the Panchanga class, last Panchanga class. I'm just repeating this. So the realm we live in, as we had discussed previously in our Panchanga foundation class, there are 14 realms along with this earthly realm, which is known as Bhuloka. Okay, so I'm not going into details of all those 14 realms. I'm just giving an overview. So the realm we live in is Bhuloka. The realm just above the Bhuloka is Pitruloka, the abode of the ancestors. Okay. So just above the Bhuloka lies the abode of the ancestors, which is known as Pitruloka. Okay. So now the Pitrus, they are our protectors. Okay, they are our protectors. They are our first line of defense against all the karmic reactions that flow in from previous lifetimes. So I had mentioned in the Panchanga class that out of these 14 lokas, only 3 are physically manifest. Okay, they are the Bhuloka, where we are currently residing. Then comes the Pitru Loka, where the ancestors are residing, and then comes the Swarga Loka, where all the Devatas are residing. So the the authority to send all those karmic reactions, they lie with the devatas, and whenever they send those karmic reactions, those reactions first reach the Pitru Loka. Okay, they first reach the Pitru Loka, and the Pitrus are so kind that out of their love for us, what they do is that they filter out those karmic reactions. All the bad karmic reactions are filtered out, and only those reactions are sent to us which we can actually handle. Okay, which we can handle. And if there is a Pitru dosha in the horoscope, what happens is that those Pitrus, they are not able to filter the karmic reactions in a way that they would like to do it, and that that makes life very difficult for us on Bholoka, because it seems that our protection is gone. Okay, it's just like it's just like the ozone layer, which is protecting us from the UV radiations of the sun. But what happens now, we are very much worried that the ozone layer has developed a hole over Greenland. So it means that all the unfiltered ultraviolet rays of the sun are reaching us. So it works in the same way. Okay, that Pitraloka is just like that ozone layer for the Bhuloka, that protects us from all the bad and negative karmic reactions that come in from the devatas, who are responsible to ensure that we face our karmas. Okay. So even in the nakshatra scheme of things, Pitrus rule Magha nakshatra, which is represented by the throne. So this must be familiar to most of you who are who have some knowledge of nakshatras, right? So the Magha nakshatra is the 10th nakshatra. In this rule, it is represented by the throne, and the ruling deities of this nakshatra are the Pitrus. Okay, so what the Pitrus ensure is that they ensure that we get the throne, we reach the throne in this lifetime. So we inherit a kingdom only by their grace. So without the grace of the Pitrus, there would be no inheritance. Okay, there would be no inheritance of fortune, there would be no inheritance of abundance, there would be no inheritance of health and wealth. Right? So this is the diagram of, this is from Vastu Shastra. Okay, I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Vastu Shastra, but this is the overall representation of the Vastu Purusha. So if you look carefully at this diagram, you look at the feet of the Vastu Purusha. It is located near the Pitru Loka. Okay, the feet of the Vastu Purusha, they are represented by the Pitru Loka, and the Pitrus are the Pitru Gana. They rule that Pitru Loka. Okay. So what we can interpret from this diagram is, I'm not going into details into Vastu, but what we can interpret from this diagram is that because the feet are located at the Pitru Loka, and because the feet are represented by the Pitru Ganas, so the Pitrus are the ones who help us to stand on our own feet. Okay, and without their support, right, without their support coming in from the Pitru Loka, life would be extremely difficult on this Bhuloka. Okay, so that is the reason why it is very much, it's very much essential that if you have a Pitru dosha in the horoscope, which is of course very common, right? Pitru dosha is a very common affliction in the horoscope. So if you have a Pitru dosha in the horoscope, it's very much necessary that you set it right by doing certain remedies and certain pujas and certain prayers, so that you can stand on your own feet. All right, you are meant to achieve whatever destiny you are meant to achieve in this. You achieve whatever, with the grace of the Pitrus, you can actually achieve whatever destiny you are meant to achieve in this lifetime. All right. So now Pitru dosha, it refers to the curse from ancestors. It actually refers to the wrath of ancestors as seen from the horoscope. Okay. Now there is a misconception that Pitru dosha happens only when an individual has not performed the the last rites of the ancestors correctly in one lifetime. Okay, but this is not true, right? This is not true. An individual gets Pitru dosha due to two conditions, and both must be simultaneously satisfied. Okay, if you have Pitru dosha in the chart, it means that these two conditions have happened. Okay, these two events have happened. Okay, the rites of ancestors were not performed in previous lifetimes. So this is, of course, everyone knows this, is that if you have Pitru dosha, there is something due to ancestors that were not performed. Okay, and then ancestors had committed. This is the second condition. Ancestors had committed bad deeds in their lives. Okay, so what it means is that if your ancestors themselves were bad, or if your ancestors themselves were not, if your ancestors so if your ancestors themselves had not lived their lives properly, then also it's possible that you have got Pitru dosha. So for Pitru dosha to happen, these two things have to be simultaneously satisfied. Okay. Now there is another term which is known as Pitru Badha. Okay, I have not included this, I have not included this thing in my presentation. So Pitru Badha actually, Pitru Badha actually refers to a condition. Just a minute, just hold on. Yes. Yes. So Pitru Badha, it refers to a condition where the Badhakesh is causing obstacles. Okay, where the Badhakesh is causing obstacles in the form of ancestral curses, right? So Badhakesh is a huge concept. Okay, just for the uninitiated, for for movable signs. That means for Aries, for Cancer, for Libra and Capricorn, the 11th Lord will act as the Badhakesh. Okay, so for fixed signs, that means for Taurus, for Leo, for Scorpio, and for Aquarius, the 9th Lord will act as the Badhakesh. And for dual signs, that means Gemini, then Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces. For them, the 7th Lord will act as the Badhakesh. So if due to certain positions of the Badhakesh also, there could be issues that can come in from the ancestors. So that is for another day. I'm just mentioning it for everyone's benefit. Okay. Now let's look at the effects of Pitru Dosha. So number one, the first effect, of course, can be seen on health. So Pitru Dosha creates undesirable effects on a person's health and mind, making them physically unsound or diseased. It leads to persistent bodily disorders or disease and is more likely to cause prolonged illness of self or any family member. So if there is a severe affliction, okay, if there is a severe affliction due to curse from the ancestors, what happens is that it can actually cause a lot of bodily disorders. Okay, and these bodily illnesses or disorders can not only impact the individual, it can actually impact the entire lineage. Okay, for example, most of you are learning astrology, or some of you are very budding astrologers. So what happens is that if you come across a client who has a very prominent Pitru dosha, and then that client is suffering from from a disease, from a disease which is genetic, like diabetes. Okay, just inquire from that client whether his parents or whether anyone from the family has diabetes, or whether that family itself has a history of diabetes. It can also happen the same thing with cancer. Okay, so we'll understand that those diseases have been inherited, and most inherited diseases are actually due to Pitru dosha. Okay, so effect on conceiving, this is another common problem. Okay, so Pitru dosha at times causes problems in conceiving and continuing the generation further. Okay, so most of the people nowadays, of course, it also happens to your lifestyles, right? Okay, but if there is a prominent Pitru dosha in the horoscope, it can cause problems in conceiving and it's continuing the generation further. And if the affliction is very, very severe, what can happen is that even if the conception happens, the baby or the fetus might not survive for those 7 to 9 months, which is meant to survive. Okay. Another thing, a quick check for pregnancy. There is a common mistake that most students of astrology do. For males, the 5th house is examined for the ability to bear a child. For female, it is the 9th house that is seen. Okay, nowadays it has become a kind of fashion or trend that for both males and females, people are checking the 5th house. No, for male it is the 5th house, and for female it is the 9th house. Okay, but then if you are looking at adopted children, okay, if you are looking at adopted children, then you will see the 5th house in case of females. For males, it will remain the 5th house in both cases. Okay, so just a quick repeat. Is just a quick repeat. If you are looking for the ability to conceive, or if you're looking for the ability to, if you're looking at the ability of an individual to have a child or to bear children, for males, you will look at the 5th house. For females, you look at the 9th house. This is for own children. If you are looking at adopted children, for females, you look at the 5th house. For males, you will again look at the 5th house. Okay. So in case of examining pregnancy, okay, this is a part of medical astrology. If you are examining if you're examining pregnancy for both males and females, then if there is an impact of Rahu, especially Rahu on the 5th house or on the 9th house, okay, if Rahu is impacting the 5th house for males, and if Rahu is impacting the 9th house for females, pregnancy can be very, very difficult. It can be extremely, extremely difficult. Of course, these problems can be solved by Tantra, but if you are strictly going from an astrological point of view, then presence of the nodes, especially Rahu in the 5th house for males and in the 9th house for females, can give issues with childbirth. Okay. Next comes the effect on wealth. So this is another affliction that happens due to Pitru Dosha. Affected person lacks financial prosperity and stability. So this is again a checkpoint for most budding astrologers. For example, you may come across charts which have a lot of Dhana Yoga. Okay, you may come across charts that have a lot of good combinations. For example, the 2nd lord is very well placed. The 5th lord is very well placed. The 11th lord is very well placed, but still prosperity is not happening. Still financial stability is not happening. In that case, you have to see whether this chart is afflicted by Pitru Dosha or not. Okay. So such a person can accumulate huge debts that pushes him or her to extreme poverty, obstacles in functioning of business, facing difficulty in getting monetary benefits and more. So if you have Pitru Dosha, you can also find it very, very difficult to inherit your ancestral properties. Right? Next. So effect on marriage. So Pitru Dosha will adversely affect relationship with the spouse or beloved. It also causes delay in marriage, strained married life, infertility, extramarital affairs, and even divorce. Okay, so this is another common affliction that happens due to Pitru Dosha. Okay, if you are looking at the horoscope, you may see that the 7th lord is very well placed, Jupiter is very well placed, Venus is very well placed, but then there is again a problem. Then examine that chart for Pitru Dosha. Okay. Next comes the effect on career. So the person who has Pitru Dosha faces recurrent loss of jobs, difficulty in promotion, and sometimes even destruction of career. Okay. So one common affliction if you have Pitru Dosha in the chart is that you will find it very, very difficult to grow in your current profession. Okay, whether you are doing a job or whether you are doing a business, if there is Pitru Dosha, it would be very, very difficult to grow in that profession. You may find it very, very difficult to get a promotion, or maybe get a pay hike, or if you are doing a business, it can be very, very difficult to grow that business. Right? Now, identifying Pitru Dosha, we've been speaking about these common afflictions, okay, but these common afflictions that I mentioned that happen due to Pitru Dosha, they can also happen due to other combinations in the horoscope. So it is very important for you to identify whether that affliction is happening because of Pitru Dosha or because of some other malefic combinations. All right. So Pitru Dosha is a very common affliction in most horoscopes, so common that most astrologers actually ignore it. Yes, so this is an unfortunate reality that has now crept in the business of astrology. Right? So Pitru Dosha is so common that most astrologers actually ignore it. Okay. And you'll actually understand as we proceed, you'll actually understand why most astrologers ignore it. So doing remedies for Pitru Dosha can actually solve most of the generic problems that a native faces. Pitrus are closer to you than God. So this is a very important point to remember. Okay. So if you have been praying and praying, and if you have been meditating and meditating, but still you have not found God, then you will not, you will not inherit the kingdom that God is trying to give you. Okay, you will not inherit the kingdom that that God is trying to provide to you. You've heard, that common Christian saying, the kingdom of God is within you. That is attributed to to Christ. So if you are not meditating, or if you are meditating but if you are not finding God, then one way to ensure that you have abundance in all areas of life is to ensure that you keep your Pitrus happy. Right? If you are keeping your Pitrus happy, if you are keeping your ancestors happy, then most of the problems that you are facing in terms of health, in terms of relationships, in terms of finances, they can actually get solved. Okay. So it is another common misconception that Pitru Dosha happens only due to Rahu. In reality, all individual navagrahas can cause Pitru Dosha. Now, this is something that no astrologer will tell you. Okay, you must have heard in your course of study or in your studies that Pitru Dosha happens mainly because of the nodes or predominantly because of Rahu. But if you examine BPHS, or if you examine other classics like Saravalli or Kalamrita, Uttar Kalamrita, I'm sorry. So in that case, you will understand that all the individual 9 planets can lead to Pitru Dosha. Okay, so this is very important to understand. Now, checking for Pitru Dosha. So this is Pitru Dosha due to the individual planets. So look at it. If Venus, Saturn, and Rahu or any two of these planets are positioned in the fifth house of the horoscope, the native is said to be afflicted by Pitru Dosha due to the sun. Now, why this is happening? This is happening. You need to understand the reason. Fifth house is the original house of Leo, right? In Kalpurush Kundli, fifth house is the house of Leo. And in that case, if either of these, if out of three, that means out of Venus, Saturn, or Rahu, if any two of these planets are going into the fifth house, in that case, the native is being afflicted by Pitru Dosha due to the sun. Okay, so fifth house is the house of Leo, that is the house of the sun. Rahu, of course, we know it is the primary, it is the antithesis of the sun. Saturn again is the great enemy of the sun, and even Venus is not very friendly towards the sun. So if any of these, either of these two planets out of the three, go into the fifth house, it can cause Pitru Dosha due to the sun, right? If Ketu is positioned in the fourth house, then the native suffers from Pitru Dosha due to the moon. Why the fourth house? Because the original fourth house is the house of Cancer, right? It is the house of Cancer. So is it the fifth house, or can we consider Leo as well? No, we'll consider only the fifth house. So as I had explained in the basic astrology class, houses first, signs later. The house will always dominate the sign. Okay, the house will always dominate the sign, right? So now Ketu in the fourth house. What is Ketu? Ketu, as I had discussed previously, the fourth house is also the Maran Karan Sthan of Ketu. Ketu feels death-like pain in the second house as well as in the fourth house. Why? Because Ketu is a sadhu. Ketu is a wandering mystic. So if you are placing a sadhu in domestic life, of course that sadhu will find it very, very difficult. And then fourth house is the house of Cancer, as we know. Moon gets Digbala in the fourth house, right? The fourth house is originally owned by the moon. In that case, the Pitru Dosha is happening due to the moon. Okay. Now, the presence of any one or both planets, Mercury or Ketu, in the first or eighth house of the horoscope can cause Pitru Dosha due to Mars, right? The first house is the house of Aries. Yes, the original first house is the house of Aries. The original eighth house is the house of Scorpio. So if either Mercury or Ketu are going into the eighth house, in the first house or eighth house, so Mercury or Ketu can be in the first house, or Mercury or Ketu, or both can be in the eighth house. In that case, there is Pitru Dosha due to Mars. Okay. Next, if Moon is in the third or sixth house, then the native is said to suffer from Pitru Dosha due to Mercury. Why? The reason is that the third is the house. The original third house is Gemini. The original sixth house is Virgo. The house is ruled by Mercury. So if Moon is going there, now Mercury and Moon, they are inimical to each other. Of course, the Moon has no enemies, right? The Moon has no enemies, but Mercury is actually the stepson of the Moon. Okay, if you look at the stories of the Navagrahas, then Moon had kidnapped Tara, the wife of Jupiter, and had made her pregnant on the day of Amavasya. Okay, this is the reason, right? This is the reason. The moon had committed the act on Chaturdashi, right? That is known as Krishna Chaturdashi. The moon had impregnated Tara on Amavasya, and the offspring of that illegal affair was Mercury, right? So Mercury is actually very inimical towards the moon because Mercury wants to be like Jupiter. That means his stepfather, right? Mercury wants to be like Jupiter, but because Mercury cannot be like Jupiter because he was not born out of Jupiter's seed, so Mercury considers Moon to be his family. Okay, and if Moon is in the third or the sixth house, then the native is said to suffer from Pitru Dosha due to Mercury. Now, an important case of prediction: if you are coming across a chart where Moon is in the sixth house, then advise that person never to go for his own business or own self-employment, because doing business can become very, very difficult. Okay, I'll not tell you the reason why this happens, but this is just a prediction. If you come across a chart, or if any one of you has Moon in the sixth house, then never go for any kind of self-employment or any kind of business where the income is variable. Okay, where the income is variable. right? I'd love to know if anyone can tell me the reason for this. I'll not tell you the reason for this, but maybe later on we can have a discussion in this group. Okay. All right. So if Venus, Mercury, and Rahu, or any two of them, are positioned in the second, fifth, ninth, or 12th house in the horoscope, then the native suffers from Pitru Dosha due to Jupiter. Now, why Jupiter? Because Jupiter is the Karaka for all these four houses. Jupiter is the Karaka for the second house of wealth and family. Jupiter is also the Karaka for the fifth house of children. Jupiter is also the Karaka for the ninth house of father or guru. Jupiter is also the Karaka for the 12th house of moksha. So if any of these enemies of Jupiter are in, if one or more of these enemies of Jupiter are placed in the second, fifth, ninth, or 12th, then they will be Pitru Dosha due to Jupiter. Okay, so now one thing must be very clear to all of you who are learning Jyotish, that Pitru Dosha is very, very common. Okay, it is said that Venus in the second house is actually very good. This is a dictum from the Lal Kitab. The Lal Kitab says that Venus in the second house is very good. You will have a large, you will have a large house. You will want to live a lavish lifestyle. But the point is that it is still a case of Pitru Dosha, even if there are certain, if there are certain good effects coming from it, still it is a case of Pitru Dosha. Similarly, Rahu is going into the second house. It can actually cause a lot of fluctuations in the income. The person can find, the person can find difficult to have a fixed sort of employment, right? So these are the things that you have to understand, that all doshas need not be negative, but still, even if it is not negative, even if the native might not be getting negative results, it is still a dosha. Okay. Then if Sun, Moon, and Rahu or any two planets are positioned in the seventh house, then the native is said to bear the Pitru Dosha due to Venus. So as we know, Venus is the Karaka of the seventh house, right? So Sun, enemy of Venus. Moon, enemy of Venus. Rahu, of course, Rahu attains Digbala in the seventh house, but what happens is that Rahu with Venus can, it can give you a, it can give issues with direction. Okay. Rahu with Venus, if they are not close to each other, the person can actually know where they are going or where they are supposed to go. But if they are coming very close to each other, it can actually cause extramarital affairs. It can cause illicit relationships. Okay, it can also drive people to prostitution if this is happening in the house of Virgo. Is this only D1 or Bhavchalit chart also? No, Dr. Saab, this is only D1. Okay, Bhavchalit chart is not something that we are looking at right now. Okay, Bhavachalit is a very different concept, right? It is a very different concept, and there is a there is a certain way how to read it. Never read Bhavachalit in the same way like D1 is read. Okay. If Rahu in fifth house, is it Pitru Dosha by Sun or Jupiter? It is Pitru Dosha. It could be Pitru Dosha due to both Sun or Jupiter. You have to see the level of affliction. Okay. Suppose Rahu comes to the fifth house. This is a very good question actually. I had mentioned previously that Rahu in the fifth house can be Pitru Dosha due to Sun. Now I have mentioned that Rahu and Rahu can also give Pitru Dosha due to Jupiter if placed in the fifth house. What happens is that in that case you have to look at the afflictions to both Sun and Jupiter. For example, suppose Jupiter is free from any other affliction, but Sun has a conjunction of Saturn, or Sun is aspected by Saturn. In that case, it would be Pitru Dosha due to the Sun. You have to look at the afflictions as to how much the afflictions are happening. Okay. So now, as I was speaking, Bhavchalit is a very different chart. Bhavachalit is a Bhavachalit is a very different chart, right? There is a separate way how to read it. Just like you cannot read the Navamsha or the D9 in the same way as you are reading the Rashi chart. So Bhavachalit is a very different way. Bhavachalit has a very different way of reading it. Maybe one day we can actually have a session on how to read the Bhavachalit chart. It will be really helpful for everyone. If Rahu, Jupiter, Venus in the fifth house, Pitru Dosha due to, as I said, Dr. Saab, we have to check the afflictions to Jupiter as well as to the Sun. Okay, you have to check the afflictions to Jupiter as well as to Sun. The greater the affliction, that would be the planet responsible for Pitru Dosha. Okay. How Rahu in the seventh can affect people due to Pitru Dosha for Venus. So Rahu in the seventh house. So what is the seventh house? Seventh house is the house of relationships, right? Seventh house is the house of partnerships. And Rahu is what? Rahu is the eternal cheater. He loves to cheat. Right? He loves to cheat. So what happens is that people will get cheated in relationships, or people may cheat also in relationships if Rahu is afflicted by other malefics, right? Then people can get cheated in partnerships. People can lose a lot of money in the name of fake partnerships or fake businesses. So that is the way it happens. Okay, and in some cases, because Venus is involved, in some cases it can lead to extramarital affairs, and also it can lead to prostitution. Okay, even in I'll not mention the affliction, because if I mention the affliction, people will start checking their checking their charts or checking others' charts. What happens is that Pitru Dosha due to Venus caused by Rahu's presence in the seventh can also lead to marital break. Okay, this is another bad effect of Pitru Dosha due to Rahu in the seventh house, right? Now then, if Sun, Moon, and Mars or any two of them are positioned in the 10th or 11th house of the horoscope, then the native will bear Pitru Dosha due to Saturn, right? So Saturn, it rules the 10th and the 11th house. Yes. So if these planets are placed in the placed in the 10th house or the 11th house, it can it can cause Pitru Dosha due to Saturn. Now catch 22. Catch 22 is that Sun in the 10th house, I have mentioned, it gets what? It gets Digbala. Mars in the 10th house, it gets Digbala. Now I am saying that if these two planets are in the 10th house, there is Pitru Dosha. So how do you interpret? So what happens in that case? It is in these cases that the intuition of the Jyotishi will come to your rescue. Okay, you have these two good conditions as well as these two bad conditions. Okay, in the 10th house, Sun and Mars both get Digbala. The native can be very disciplined. The native can be an expert in finishing work, right? So what happens is that is a very good effect of Sun and Mars in the 10th house. But now Sun and Mars in the 10th house, it is also causing Pitru Dosha. So there will be hundreds and hundreds of combinations for a particular placement in astrology. So this is where your intuition or intuitive ability comes, right? This is where your intuitive ability comes into the picture, so that you can actually tell the client exactly what he should expect, what he or she should expect. And this is where the role of Ketu Maharaj comes in. I had mentioned previously that astrology has three principal grahas. One is Sun, the other is Jupiter, and the last is Ketu. So this is where the where the cutting ability of Ketu comes in, right? Ketu has a tremendous amount of cutting ability. That is the reason it also represents sharp surgical instruments. So this is where the cutting ability of Ketu comes in. You have to know which things to omit and which things to tell the client, right? So if you tell the client that okay, Sun and Mars are in the 10th house of your horoscope, very good. And the next moment, if you say that you also have Pitru Dosha, the client will either get very confused, or or he or she will leave a negative review for you. So you have to be very, very careful in telling the client what is happening, what exactly is happening. And this is where the role of Ketu Maharaj is coming in. Okay. If Sun and Venus or any one of them are placed in the 12th house in the horoscope, then the native experiences Pitru Dosha due to Rahu. Now, why Rahu? Why Rahu? Because in the 12th house, Rahu gives bondages. Okay, if Rahu is, if in any case, if anyone has Rahu in the 12th house, that person would love freedom. Okay, that person would love to get freedom, right? But what happens is, because Rahu is there, that person will end up entangling himself or herself in activities that actually lead to bondage. Okay, so Rahu, no, Rahu represents bondage, right? So if Sun and Venus or any of them is placed in the 12th house, then the native experiences Pitru Dosha due to Rahu. But then Rahu placed in the second house also causes Pitru Dosha. So this is a very common combination, right? This is not an all bad combination. It depends on how Rahu is placed. If Rahu is placed in its own sign, or if Rahu is exalted, then a lot of negativities get reduced. Okay, but if Rahu is debilitated, suppose you are a Scorpio ascendant, your second house will be Sagittarius. In that case, Rahu is getting debilitated. Then you will either be a very, you'll be a very big cheater, or you will get cheated very, very badly. Venus in 12th house is good. Yes, of course it is good, because it is giving you all the pleasures, right? But as I said, astrology comprises of several layers. One layer placed over the other, right? One layer placed over the other. So you have to understand what results the client is getting and what results you have to tell the client. Okay. Even Sun in the 12th house is good. Okay. In the modern times, you will see a lot of people who are in government service. These people will have Sun in the 12th house. People say that Sun in the 10th house is government service. Yes, that is a combination. But in the modern times, there would be some people who would be in government service. These people will also have sun in the 12th house. So sun, sun in the 12th house, it implies a Marankaran Sthan placement for the sun, right? But then if sun goes into the 12th house, what happens is the father of that person will do a lot of things to them. Yes, it will be MKS. Of course, it will be MKS. But if sun goes to the 12th house, the father of that person will have a big role. If the person is, suppose you have a client who has sun in the 12th house and that person is doing government job. Okay. This is a very common thing that if you have looked at many charts, this is a common thing that you will find. Sun in the 12th house, the person is having a government job. Okay. So this means that the father of that person has had a very definite role to play in helping that person to get that job, no matter what job it is. Okay. So if Moon and Mars or any of them are placed in the sixth house of the horoscope, then the nature will bear the adverse effects of Pitru Dosha due to Ketu. Now why Ketu in the sixth house? Because the sixth house is your daily routine. Okay. And what is Ketu? Ketu is your Moksha Karaka, right? Ketu is a Moksha Karaka. Ketu is someone who hates routine work. You cannot expect a sadhu to follow a particular routine day in and day out. Nowadays, what is happening because of the nature of jobs that we are having, or because of the nature of the world around us, we are actually, we are actually forced to follow a routine, even if it goes against our wishes. So in that case, if Ketu is placed in the, if Ketu is placed in the sixth house, it can make, it can make us, it can make it very, very difficult for us to follow a routine. So if either the moon or Mars goes into the sixth house, in that case, there will be Pitru Dosha due to Ketu. So I had Mars in the sixth house, anyways, will give issues with it. Okay, you will be, you will be in a constant need for money most of the times. Okay, so one common remedy for people who have Mars in the sixth house is that if you don't have any, if you don't have any debts, then what you do is that you just take a small amount of personal loan and repay it in very, very small installments. That will actually keep your Mars in sixth house in control. All right. Okay, so before going into the remedies, I just told that at 8:45 we'll be taking a break. So we'll be taking a break for 5 minutes, and then we will be going into the remedies. Okay, we'll meet at 8:52 p.m. Right? All right. So there are a couple of questions in the chat box. So yeah, still suffering from disease which is running in family, a bone and joint disease, arthritis and bad form. Are there any other rules? So yes, Dr. Sir, what is happening is that we need to look at the positions of the Sun and Saturn, because the things that you have mentioned, this is actually a problem due to affliction to the Sun, particularly due to Saturn and Rahu. Okay. And then after the Pindadan and Gaia, it is necessary to do Shraddha every year. Yes, it is necessary. I'll come to this point. Okay, I'll come to this point in details. Okay. So now if we look at the remedies regarding Pitru Dosha. So first is Tripinda Shraddh. This is a very common remedy. Okay. So ideally, what happens is one should perform the Shraddh karma of ancestors every year on their death anniversary. Match the Mrityu Tithi. This is a great remedy for 12th house matters. So it is very essential that at least for the people whom you know, okay, right, you should perform the Shraddh rituals every year on their death anniversary. So you should match the Mrityu Tithi. Okay, suppose someone might have passed on the 11th of September 2020, but today being the 11th of September 2021, that Mrityu Tithi might not match. So you have to match the Mrityu Tithi and then perform the Shraddh Karma, right? So if a Shraddh Karma is performed regularly, then that can be a great remedy for 12th house matters, especially in terms of expenses. Okay, so if you look at families where Shraddh rituals are not performed every year, in that case, those people, those people have a lot of unnecessary expenses in the form of medical bills or in the form of legal issues and so on. Okay, so this is one indication that the Pitrus, they want you to perform their Shraddh rituals. And what happens if you do not know you do not know their Mrityu Tithi or the death anniversary, then you can take any day out of the 16 days from Pitru Paksha and perform the Shraddh ritual. Okay, so Shraddh is not performed on the death anniversaries of ancestors, and one should perform Tripinda Shraddh. So sometimes it so happens that most of the Shraddh karma has been neglected consistently by successive generations in the family. And in that case, the solution is to perform Tripinda Shraddh, right? And where this can be performed, it can be performed in Gaya, it can be performed in Haridwar, Kashi, and also Badrinath. So Gaya is the most popular place, in my opinion. Okay, so if you go there, you'll actually experience, you'll actually experience a whole new world of things there, right? Nasik, yes, yes, Prashant, you can perform it in Nasik, but these are the recommended places because these are the places where I know that it is performed correctly. Okay, I don't have any information about Nasik. But for Tripinda Shraddh, these four places are the best. And just one quick tip: if you are actually going to these four places, suppose you are going for a Tripinda Shraddh, then you would be required to give a lot of money in various places. All right, the Panditji would be performing the Shraddh for you. He would be saying, "Beta yahan pe paisa do, wahan pe paisa do." So at the end of the day, if you are not careful, you can actually end up donating a lot. So what you can do is that you can get 3,000 or 4,000 rupees in the form of 10 rupee notes, and then give those, take those bundle of 10 rupee notes and give one of each, give one note as donation wherever they ask you to donate. So this is a very small thing or small tip that can be, that can be performed for making the work easier. Okay. Now let's cover a few generic remedies. So Tripinda Shraddh was one. Next is offering water to a banyan tree. So how to do it? One should pour sweetened water on the roots of the banyan tree on the day of Amavasya and pray to God, whichever God you believe in, for the peace and salvation of departed souls while performing this ritual. Okay, now this word Shraddh or Shraddh, it actually comes from the word Shraddha, right? So anytime you are performing a ritual for your ancestors, you need to have some amount of devotion or some amount of gratitude. Even if devotion is not there, some amount of gratitude should be there while performing these rituals. Okay, even if you're performing a Shraddh or even if you're offering sweetened water, okay, just have some amount of gratitude, because that gratitude is the one that connects you to the ancestor, not the ritual. Okay, even if you don't perform any single ritual, if you don't perform to any god, okay, even if you are filled with gratitude, right? If you're filled with gratitude, suppose you're enjoying a cup of coffee, be filled with gratitude for the people who have made you that coffee. Pour water at night or day on the day of Amavasya. I've mentioned it specifically. It should be on the day of Amavasya. Okay. So where I was, yes. So if you are having even if you're enjoying a cup of coffee on a rainy day, then feel gratitude for the rain that is there. Feel gratitude for for the water that is helping you to make that coffee. Feel gratitude for the people who have cultivated the coffee beans so that you've been able to enjoy that cup of coffee during that day. So gratitude is a state of being. Okay, so you may not perform any remedy, you may not perform any puja, you may not perform any worship, you may not do anything. But if you are just grateful, okay, just by sitting there, if you can feel gratitude for the person who has made that chair, right, where you are sitting, So if you can feel gratitude for all the things that you have, for example, you don't have to, you don't have to feel gratitude for the far-fetched things. Just feel gratitude for the things that you take for granted on your day-to-day life. Okay. Yes, attitude of gratitude. Exactly, Ruchika. You have to have that attitude of gratitude. Okay. If you are, suppose you are watching your favorite show on television, just feel gratitude for the people who have been responsible for bringing you that TV, right? That is enough. Okay, the greatest remedy in the world is the remedy of gratitude. You need not do anything else. If you are just grateful, if you are just thankful, and you don't need to be thankful to anyone. Okay, you just be thankful to existence, for for showing you a new day. You just be thankful to everyone for for making you who you are today. So if you have that attitude of gratitude, and if you can carry it, if you can carry it wherever you go, these remedies, they become absolutely unessential. Okay. Now, so you can pour sweetened water on roots of a banyan tree on the day of Amavasya. What you do in the evening, on the same day in the evening, light a ghee diya at the base of a banyan tree. This is also a remedy for attracting wealth for Lakshmi. Okay, so every time during Amavasya, even if you are not pouring that sweetened water, you may not have Pitru Dosha in the horoscope. So if not, you need not pour that sweetened water. But for Amavas, if you are, if you are actually serious about attracting wealth, on every Amavasya evening, go to a banyan tree, and on the base of the banyan tree, just place a ghee diya. Okay? So this is a great remedy for attracting wealth for Lakshmi. Then comes the remedy of feeding cow, crows, and other animals. Okay, so the native should feed cows, fishes, dogs, crows, and other street animals on the day of Purnima and Amavasya. So now, if you look at these animals, these are actually representative of Rahu and Saturn. Okay, Diya can be done on the people tree. Yes, it can be a banyan tree or a people tree. I've forgotten to mention. Thank you for reminding me, Rajesh. This can happen for both a banyan tree as well as people tree. Okay. So you should feed cows. Cows are related to Rahu. Cow is the Pratyadi Devata of Rahu. Okay. Fish is related to Ketu. Crows, of course, is related to Saturn. Dogs again are related to Ketu. Okay. So Saturn, even if it is the most malefic planet, even if it is one of the, even if it is the enemy of the moon, it still rules Purnima, where the moon is full. Okay, so you have to see how these things connect. So of course, we will know all this in the Panchanga class. What to feed? For cows, feed jaggery. Okay, that is most recommended. If not jaggery, then then chickpeas or chana. To fishes, you can feed anything, right? To crows, you feed kheer or you feed dahi. And to dogs, you feed bread, not biscuits, because by biscuits, dogs can get diabetes, and that can again attract negative karma for you. So what I had mentioned, Dr. Saab, is that these animals are related to either Saturn or the nodes. Cows, they are related to Rahu. Cows are also related to the sun, okay, because cow is the Pratyadi Devata of Rahu. Fishes are related to Ketu, okay, because Ketu, if you look at the Vishnu avatars of the planet, Ketu refers to the Matsya avatar. So fishes refer to Ketu, crows again refer to Saturn, and dogs, they refer again to Ketu. Okay, so Saturn, it rules Purnima Tithi, right? Saturn is considered to be a great malefic who causes obstructions to the moon, who causes a lot of difficulties to the moon if it is in conjunction, or if it is aspecting the moon. But what happens? Saturn rules Purnima Tithi, right? So Purnima Tithi is the most auspicious Tithi because why? It's not because the moon is full on that day. It is because it is very good for achieving enlightenment, right? That is a different topic altogether. But Purnima Tithi is very much, very much essential for achieving enlightenment. If you look at all the great spiritual masters who have come and gone before us, you'll see that most of them attain enlightenment on the day of Purnima. Okay, in the south it is known as Purnami, but that's how you spell it. Crow should be fed dahi. Yes, ideally it should be dahi, or it could be, it could be payasam, or it could be kheer also, right? So making offerings at a Devi temple, this is another generic remedy. So natives should donate kheer during every Amavasya and Purnima days, and jaggery during every Sankranti day at a Devi temple. So during Amavasya and Purnima, this needs to be done during the daytime. donate kheer. Okay, if you're not able to make kheer and donate it to the temple, then donate some quantity of milk, some quantity of sugar, some quantity of rice, and some quantity of dry fruits. Okay, at a Devi temple, right? And jaggery should be donated during every Sankranti day. Now, technically speaking, Sankranti happens after the day of Amavasya. Okay, after every Amavasya, the next tithi is known as Sankranti. Okay, so it happens approximately on the 14th or 15th of every month, right? But if you look at a Panchang app, right? If you look at an app that shows the Panchang, the day after every Amavasya is Sankranti. Now the point is, after every Amavasya, the sun may not be at 0 degrees. Okay, it is very rare for the sun to be at 0 degrees after Amavasya. So you just look at the astrology app and see the Prashna chart or the chart for the current moment and see where the sun is. So when it is at 0 degree, it can be at 0.1 degree also. Whenever it is at 0 degree, that is the day you should consider as Sankranti and not the day that the app shows. Okay, so sun at 0 degrees is actually the day of Sankranti. This is when the sun is said to be changing clothes. Okay, this is when the sun is said to be changing clothes. And Sankranti dosha is a very, very terrible affliction that can happen as a part of affliction to the Panchanga. Okay, if someone is born on a, someone is born on a Sankranti dosha, suppose someone is born when the sun is at 0 or 0.1 or 0.5 degrees. In that case, that person is said to have Sankranti dosha, and that can be a very serious affliction in the horoscope. Okay, we'll come to this as we discuss more and more in the Panchanga class, right? Next comes offering daily tarpana. So this is the simplest of remedies that you can complete in maybe 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, even Narasimha Rao ji has a video on it. Even Astrology that is run by Bhaskaran Pillai, Dr. Bhaskaran Pillai, he has a video on it. Similarly, there is a video that is put up there by the Art of Living. So any procedure you can follow. Okay, so tarpana is the simplest possible ritual one can do every morning after bath to appease the Pitrus. So Tarpana consists of offering sesame seeds to our parents and ancestors in the other world while praying that all petty thoughts as tiny as sesame seeds are discarded. So this is the logic behind offering sesame seeds. Now, while sesame is still, okay, for those who don't know, sesame is still, you should offer black sesame seeds, not white sesame seeds. So it is believed that when the ancestors passed on to the Pitru Loka, they had certain petty thoughts in their mind, as a result of which they have not attained liberation. So while offering sesame seeds, it is essential to be prayed that all the petty thoughts that your ancestors or your parents have, that they have carried from this world to the other world, they are discarded. Okay, so this practice is supposed to relieve the ancestors from unwanted impressions and bring relief to the departed. Okay, so whatever unwanted impressions your ancestors took from this world, doing daily tarpana, it is believed that those unwanted impressions will be removed. Okay, next. Now we will be going for the specific remedies. Pitru dosha remedies for Rahu. Crows in Hindu beliefs symbolizes the ancestors. Thus, to nullify Pitru dosha due to Rahu, one should offer food to crows and cows. Cow is the Pratyari Devata of Rahu. This I have explained. Okay. So natives should collect. So anyone you do. Okay. It's not that you have to do all the remedies. It can be any one of the remedies. But as I said, a sense of gratitude or a sense of shraddha is very, very important if you are doing remedies, if you are doing remedies for the Pitrus. Okay. So natives should collect coconuts from every family member and then flow it into a sacred lake or pond on the river on the day of Amavasya. So this is a remedy from Lal Kitab. You can just collect coconuts from each and every family member. Okay, so each and every family member should pray over the coconut, saying that you want your ancestors to you want a harmonious journey for your ancestors in the Pitru Loka, and those coconuts should be collected and flown into a lake or a pond or a river. Okay, so those coconuts should be tied up by using a rope, which is not made from any synthetic material but from natural substances like coconut fiber. Right? Collect coconuts from all the family members and tie up all those coconuts in a rope with a rope, which is made of natural things like coconut fiber, and then flow that garland of coconuts into a lake or a pond. So this is actually a remedy from the Lal Kitab. Sunil John Ji had also mentioned this remedy in his astrology channel, Saptarishis Astrology. I don't know how he had done it, but this is a remedy that has often found mention in most astrology channels. Okay, Then Rahu also represents if Rahu is in the higher form, okay, if Rahu is exalted, or if Rahu, if Rahu, people who have an exalted Rahu, or people who, who have a Rahu which is in its own house, those people will be very, very concerned about the environment. Okay, so Rahu actually represents environment welfare. So you should donate towards environment welfare and to organizations who are involved in protecting the environment. All right. Can plant trees? Yes, Ruchita, you can plant trees, of course. Okay, you can plant trees, but ensure that those trees are not plants. Those trees should not be put in pots. It should be placed outside in a field or at a place which is, which is outside the boundaries of your home. Yes, it exalts in Gemini, mostly in Gemini. Okay, mostly in Gemini, but some people will also consider Taurus, and it will also exalt in Virgo, as per some schools of thought. Okay, so it depends on whatever you are following. Next, Pitru Dosha remedies for Ketu, also in Virgo. Also in Virgo. Some schools of thought believe that Rahu also exalts in Virgo. Okay, Rahu attains Mool Trikona in Virgo. Rahu also exalts in Virgo, because Virgo is the Virgo is the original house of enemies. So Rahu loves dealing with enemies, right? Rahu loves dealing with enemies. So there is a there is a very subtle difference between Mars and Rahu. If you look at the Graha Guna Adhyaya that has been mentioned in the BPHS, Mars is regarded as the bravest of all planets. Okay, Mars is regarded as the bravest of all planets. Rahu has been given second position by Parashara. Now, what happens is that how Mars and how Rahu function, that is completely different. Mars, suppose you have a situation where you have to fight with 100 people. Mars, as the commander, he will actually jump into the battle thinking that, okay, I may be killed, but I will kill 10 others along with me. What Rahu will do is that he will go into hiding and he will lure all his enemies into a specific corner, into a specific area. And once everyone has arrived, he will just bomb them out from behind. Okay, maybe he would plant landmines, or he would just throw a bomb from somewhere where all the enemies are burnt into oblivion. That is the difference, fundamental difference between Rahu and Mars. Okay, all right. So Pitru Dosha remedies for Ketu. Natives should gather money from the family members and offer food to dogs every Tuesday morning. Most simply put, collect money from your family members and work for dog welfare. Okay, that is a very good remedy for Pitru Dosha due to Ketu. Then Pitru Dosha remedies for Sun and Moon. Fortunately, these are the same, right? So one, if you are doing Pitru Dosha remedies for the Sun, do it on Sunday. If you are doing it for the Moon, then do it on Monday. So offer jaggery and chickpeas to a cow or ox every Sunday or Monday. Okay. Then Pitru Dosha remedies for Jupiter. Perform fasting on Thursdays from sunrise to sunset, preferably without water, and break the fast by consuming chickpeas soaked in water for the entire day. So how to do it? You early in the morning after getting up, okay, soak some chickpeas in water. Chickpeas is of course chana, right? Soak some chickpeas in water and then drink that water. When you break the fast, we break the fast by drinking water, right? So drink that water which contained that chickpeas soaked during the day, and then consume those chickpeas later on as food. Okay, this is a Pitru Dosha remedy for Jupiter. Then for Saturn, feed the poor and needy every Saturday. Also donate mustard or sesame oil to servants, sweepers every Saturday evening wherever possible. So all those people who work in your house, like servants, like sweepers or the cleaners or the gardener, all are representative of Saturn. So if you can donate mustard or sesame oil to those people, or another way to do it is to donate some fried stuff to these people. Okay, suppose you are frying some pitha or some varas. Okay, if anyone is from Bihar, they would actually know that there are various varieties of vara. People from the rest of India know that only as vara. But if you are from Bihar, you will actually understand that it is not only vara, there are various varieties of vara. Okay, so donate these stuff to your servants or sweepers by frying it in hot mustard or sesame oil. Right? Okay, then comes for Venus. Donate towards widow welfare in goshalas. Okay, and then donate money towards conducting marriage for the poor and the underprivileged. So any one of these remedies will go through. Okay. Next comes Mars. Donate towards army welfare and worship Skanda and Kartikeya with the Kartikeya Gayatri mantra. So this is the Kartikeya Gayatri mantra. As we know, Kartikeya is the ruling deity of Mars. Okay, it is a very common misconception that people think that Hanuman is the ruling deity for Mars. No, it is not Hanuman. It is either Ganesha or it is Kartikeya. Okay, Hanuman is for everyone. Hanuman is for all planetary afflictions. So people have a misconception that Hanuman is the deity for Mars or Hanuman is the deity for Saturn. Yes, no. For if I'll come to it. So if you are, if you are donating towards army welfare, you should do it on, on Tuesdays. And if you're worshipping Skanda or Kartikeya, then you start on a Tuesday and do it every day. Okay, maybe 1 mala or 5 mala according to your convenience. So Om Tat Purushaya Vidmahe Mahasenaya Dhimahi Tannah Shanmukha Prachodayat. So this is the remedy, or this is the Kartikeya Gayatri mantra. So as I was saying, Hanuman is not the deity for Mars, neither Hanuman is the deity for Saturn. This is a common misconception that has come into astrology in the last few years. Okay, 1 mala or 5 malas would be enough, right? And yes, so Hanuman is Hanuman is not the deity for Mars or for Saturn. For the specific deity for Mars is Kanda or Ganesha, and the specific deity for Saturn is Bhairava or Kala Bhairava, to be very specific. Okay. Donation up to how many times? Yes, this is a very good question. How many times or how many months or how many days you should donate? Or if there is affliction due to one malefic planet for 1 year, if there is affliction for due to two malefic planets, 2 years, and then continue the same. Okay, 1 year each for one malefic planet, right? Then Pitru Dosha remedies for Mercury. So perform Satyanarayan, Vrat Katha and Puja during every Purnima after sunset. So this is one generic remedy for Mercury that works irrespective of wherever your Mercury is placed or whether Mercury is giving Pitru Dosha or not. This can also be used as a generic remedy for Mercury, not only as a specific remedy for Pitru Dosha. All right. So what happens is that Mercury has two deities. Okay, according to astrology, according to PPHS, Mercury has two deities. One is Kubera and the other is Narayan. Okay, so Narayan is Narayan makes a very spiritual Mercury. Mercury is the eternal student, right? And he wants to learn. So what Narayan is doing is that he is imparting spiritual knowledge to Mercury. Kubera, on the other hand, is imparting material knowledge to Mercury. All right. If you look at the Vahana of Kubera, the Vahana of Kubera is what? Can anyone tell me the Vahana of Kubera? It's not a mouse. The Vahana of Kubera is what? Yes, Vahana of Kubera is a human. So what does Kubera do? Kubera makes everyone money-minded. We are so concerned about money that we are not even concerned regarding the things around us or regarding the people around us. So the Vahana of Kubera is money, and money is the common motivator for all human beings. Yes. So if you are aiming, if you have a lot of spiritual combinations in your horoscope, and because of which you are losing money, then you can worship. You should not worship Kubera because he's a yaksha, but you can do certain specific remedies for Kubera. Okay, maybe we can discuss this in the Panchanga class later on. So this is a very specific remedy for Mercury, but it can also for Pitru Dosha due to Mercury, but it can also be used as a very direct Mercury remedy. Performing Satyanarayana Vrat Katha and Puja during every Purnima after sunset. Now we come to Pitru Paksha, right? So this is the general information. All right, Rajendra ji, thank you so much. Okay, so Pitru Paksha, this is a fortnight for ancestors. The origins of Pitru Paksha can be traced back to the Rig Veda. Okay, people think that Pitru Paksha started after Karna was deprived of food in the Pitru Lok, in the Mahabharata. So Pitru Paksha is depending on the year. Pitru Paksha is an occasion of 14 to 16 days where we express our gratitude and love for all those who have passed on before us. That is the ancestors, right? Thereby leaving us a legacy of their love, wisdom, protection, and material wealth. So all these things we inherit from our Pitrus. Okay. So the occasion of Pitru Paksha falls in the month of Bhadrapada in the Indian calendar, typically in September, October. This is a generic thing. You can look at the Panchanga also, you can check. Pitru Paksha is also known as Mahalaya Paksha, which starts on the full moon and ends on a new moon, known as Mahalaya Amavasya. Maha means great and Laya means this refers to dissolution. So this is very common in places like Bengal and Assam, where Mahalaya is, Mahalaya is the time to celebrate because it heralds the coming of the Devi, right? So Pitru Paksha or Mahalaya Paksha is a period representing dissolution that must precede recreation. So because Mahalaya represents dissolution, it's a common misconception to believe that Pitru Paksha, the fortnight of Pitru Paksha is very inauspicious. So why it is not inauspicious, and rather why it has a different spiritual meaning, I'll come to that in a bit. So recreation or the beginning of new creation is represented by the transition period of Devi Navratri, which immediately follows Mahalaya Amavasya, except during the years where Adhik Mars or Mala Mas, the extra month, is added to the Hindu calendar. So this had happened last year, isn't it? We had a Mala Mas coming and there was a gap between Mahalaya and Durga Puja. So the full moon, which heralds the beginning of Mahalaya Paksha, lies aligned with the star in Aries, known as Bharani in Indian astronomy. So those who are versed in the nakshatras or those who have interest in the nakshatras may do more research on it, right? Bharani, of course, we know is associated with Lord Yama, the god of death. Okay, so a prediction. If any graha goes into Bharani nakshatra, okay, if any graha goes into Bharani nakshatra, that graha will give health issues during its dasha. Okay, if any graha goes into Bharani nakshatra, that graha will give health issues during its dasha or antardasha. Okay, so the fortnight starting from the full moon until the new moon is thus observed as the time to pay respects to the ancestors, so that the prayers and offerings may reach the abode of Yama, and from there on to our ancestors. So whatever rituals or whatever prayers you do during Pitru Paksha, it is believed that those prayers will reach our Pitrus through the abode of Yama. So it is a misconception, as I said, that Pitru Paksha is an inauspicious time where starting new things are prohibited. In reality, it is a period to forge a subtle connection with our ancestors and stay in their remembrance. Okay. So what happens is that people say that you should not, you should not begin new things in Pitru Paksha. You should not marry during Pitru Paksha. Or you should not buy a new house or maybe a new car during Pitru Paksha. But what happens is that Pitru Paksha is a day of contemplation. Okay, it is a day of contemplation. It is a day to express gratitude to our ancestors and remember them in any possible way. Okay, just remembering the ancestors on these powerful days ensures that they get the pinda which they expect from us. Okay, so the purpose is to divert our attention from the gross material world and connect ourselves with the subtle realm or Pitru Loka, the plane belonging to our ancestors. So as I said, this is the time to express gratitude. Okay, this is the time to remember our ancestors and say thank you to whatever they have done for us, to whatever they have left us, right? Now, in the Indian tradition, the reign of the ancestors is, it is very important to clear. So there are three types of deaths. One is Devaran. Okay, so Devaran is the reign of gods for gracing us with wealth and prosperity. Every one of us has that reign. That is the reason we worship them. Okay, because our worship can never be enough to repay whatever they do with us, they do for us. Then Rishirin, that to the sages for providing us with knowledge. Pitrurin, that to our ancestors for providing us with the human frame, knowledge, skills, and other privileges. Why I've included the word human frame? It is because it is said that you look like your seventh ancestor. Okay, your body structure or your frame is exactly identical to the seventh ancestor who has gone before you. This is very much true. I have found this true for myself, and I have found this true for all the clients, for most of the clients whom I have discussed this with. Okay, so it is with our human body that we lead our material life and also undertake our spiritual journey. So the human frame becomes very important. It is the ancestors who have provided us with this frame. Okay, to achieve whatever we are meant to achieve. So there is another type of Rina. Can anyone tell me? Nevertheless, there is another type of Rina which is known as Guru Rina. Okay, it is known as Guru Rina. Now, why I have not included Guru Rina here is because these are the three Rinas that you can actually repay. Okay, you can repay the debt that you have, towards the gods or towards the sages or towards the Pitru, but you can never repay your Rina that you have towards your Guru. Okay, so Guru Rina is impossible to repay, right? So that is the reason, because we cannot clear that Rina, okay, the Guru Rina, because it cannot be cleared, so I have not included it here. Okay. How to repay 3 Rinas? Rina to the gods, worship, right? Do pujas, do attend satsangas, recite the stotras, right? Rishi Rina, you should. Rishi Rina is when you know the name of your Gotra Rishi. Okay, if you know the name of your Gotra Rishi, suppose you have Kashyap Gotra, then the Rishi is Kashyapa. If you have Alamanyu Gotra, the Rishi is Atri. So if you know your Rishi, if you know the Gotra Rishi, remember that Gotra Rishi every morning before waking up. That is the way you do it, step by step, one small part at a time. And then Pitru Rina, of course, by doing Tarpana, by whatever methods I had mentioned previously. Okay. So Pitru Paksha is the period where our ancestors are pleased and pacified through various rituals like Shraddha and Tarpana to be free from the debt we owe them. So Pitru Paksha is a great opportunity to repay the debt of Pitrus. Okay. So very important, Shraddha should be performed for our ancestors, both maternal and paternal, during Pitru Paksha. So if you don't know the day of their death, or if you don't know their Mrityu Tithi, just choose one day of Pitru Paksha and then perform the Shraddha. Okay. So Pitru Paksha is also known as Shraddha Paksha. The Shraddha that we perform during Pitru Paksha is known as Pitru Shraddha. Right. So as I had mentioned previously, Shraddha is actually derived from the word Shraddha. So what does Shraddha mean? Shraddha means faith, confidence, reverence. Right. It is a practice undertaken in good faith for our forefathers, showing our gratitude. Okay. So as I said, Shraddha is all about showing gratitude for whatever you have, for whoever you are right now. It is all because of the Pitrus, right? So whatever rituals you perform for the Pitrus, it should be always performed with a lot of Shraddha or a lot of gratitude, right? So Shraddha can be performed by both the son and the daughter. So never ever believe anyone who says that females cannot perform Shraddha. Okay, it is a very big misconception that it is prevalent even today, even nowadays. Okay. Next comes Pindadan. So this is an essential part of all Shraddha rituals, right? So what is Pindadan? It is an offering of rice balls to the departed souls through the relevant ceremonies in accompaniment to the chanting of mantras. So every time you perform a Shraddha, or every time you perform a ritual for your ancestors, you also have to do Pindadan, right? Suppose someone has died in the family, then the son or the daughter has to do Pindadan every day till the 13th day Shraddha ritual happens, right? So Pinda is actually performed by offering rice balls, right? Some people will mix black sesame seeds with those rice balls, right? So subsequently, rice balls are also offered to the crows, which are revered as representatives of the ancestors. So generally, if you have a crow crowing by, it is commonly believed in India that that is a sign of misfortune. But no, it is not a sign of misfortune. What is happening is that if there are a lot of crows crowing nearby, it shows that you have somehow lost some connection of yours with the ancestors, and the ancestors, they want you to to rejuvenate or to revive that connection. Okay. So Pindadan is usually conducted on the banks of a river. So this is because you need flowing water, right? Just like the air is blowing, so the water is also flowing. So whatever pinda you offer to the water, it should flow away. That means the flowing away represents that pinda that you are offering is reaching your ancestors. So this is a story from the Mahabharata. When the anti-hero Karna breathed his last, he attained Swarga or heaven. There he was offered only gold and other jewels as food. So when Karna died, he reached heaven, of course, because he was such a Danveer. Okay, he was a Maharathi. He was regarded as a Maharathi. So when he reached there, he was offered only gold and other jewels. So when the pangs of hunger began to eat into him, Karna approached Yama, the Lord of Death. As we know, Yama plays the role of Yudhishthir's father, right? In the Mahabharata, Yama is Yudhishthir's father. So when Karna approached Yama, Yama told Karna that since he had, during the course of his life, offered gold and jewels to people and not food or pindadan to his ancestors, he now had to go hungry. So this story has a very, very important relevance. Why I have included this story is because if you want your house to be always self-sufficient in matters of food, then always offer food to people who come to your house. Never let anyone leave empty stomach when they come to your house, even if it means offering them a glass of water. Okay, suppose a delivery boy is coming, delivery boy is coming to deliver your product. At least have the courtesy to offer some water or some juice. Maybe they will not have it, but the fact that you are having that courtesy will go a long way as a remedy, right? As a remedy, and that remedy will actually ensure that you have an uninterrupted supply of food grains in your house. So Jyotish, when you learn Jyotish, it's all about making these small lifestyle changes that will go a long way. Okay, these lifestyle changes take, maybe they will take around 5 to 10 years, or maybe a generation to become a habit. But these are the habits that we must pass on to our children as, as responsible ancestors, right? So never let anyone leave hungry or thirsty from your place. It's very, very important that you at least offer a glass of water. If you have nothing else to offer, just offer a glass of water to someone who has come to your house. All right. So donations during Pitru Paksha are a way to console Pitrus who harbor ill feelings against us. So those ill feelings are harbored because sometimes we fail to, we fail to fulfill the obligations that the Pitrus have towards us. So if they have had any animosity while dying, then donations during Pitru Paksha are a way to mitigate those animosities. Okay, so donations should also be made to the poor and to priests and Purohit. So who is a Purohit? A Purohit is one who always works for the good of the society and welfare of the world. And hence feeding and rewarding the Purohit during Pitru Paksha is said to greatly please our ancestors. So this is very, very essential. You should donate food, especially food. Okay, so money cannot buy, people think that, okay, I donate the money and people will buy food, but no, it should be food, right? And why not money? People may ask why not money and why food? Because money is dirty. You never know where the money is coming from. You may be receiving a sum of 10,000 rupees from someone who has a lot of black money that he has earned, that he or she has earned by murdering people, and he is giving it to you for, as a payment for your services. In that case, that black money becomes your property. So you have inherited a part of his karma by taking his money, right? And that is the reason you will see that the very spiritual people who are actually spiritual. Now there is a difference being spiritual for the camera or being spiritual for social media and being actually spiritual. So the very spiritual people who are actually very spiritual, they will never touch your money. They will never ever touch your money. If you have been near to very spiritual people, you will understand that they will tell you to keep your money separately. Suppose they have a donation box, or they have a temple which they are maintaining, and you're going to such a person, they will always ask you not to give them money. They will ask you to donate the money either to a donation box, or maybe keep that money at a certain place. Okay, but those people they will never touch money. Why? Because money has the rajasic energy of Lakshmi. And all spiritual people, if they have attained a certain level of sattva in their energies or in their consciousness, they will never touch anything that is rajasic or tamasic. This happened with Ramana Maharishi also. This also happened with Ramakrishna Paramhansa. Okay, the spiritual people who are very, very spiritual, they will never ever touch money. Okay, it is said that once Swami Vivekananda, just to test his guru, his guru was sleeping. And what Vivekananda did was that he put a 10 rupee, he put a 5 rupee note towards under the mattress where Ramakrishna was sleeping. And just as Vivekananda put that 5 rupee note, Ramakrishna, all of a sudden, he got up due to shock and he started running out of the house. Okay, screaming poison, poison. So this is how spiritual people actually avoid money. And this is the reason you should always offer food instead of money. Okay, you must have heard your parents or your ancestors saying that offer food, don't offer money, don't offer money. But this is the real reason why money should not be offered as a donation, because you never know whose money it is or how clean that money is. So maintaining a harmonious state of mind. This is the end objective of all rituals for ancestors, as well as all rituals as remedies. So the main objective of Pitru Paksha is to remain harmonious in body, mind, and spirit. This can be done by living in knowledge and nurturing pure thoughts, which can be achieved by undertaking spiritual activities like meditation and satsang. Now, it is scientifically proved that clapping during that satsang is a way to increase the flow of prana in the body. So, people from the north have a habit of going into satsang, but not many people, in the east or in the west, not in the west, sorry, in the east and in the northeast, they are not very familiar with satsangs. But if you have an opportunity to attend the satsang, then you should actually go and clap yourself to glory. That will help the flow of prana in the body. Okay, so during the period of Pitru Paksha, one should also practice to make and consume food that was relished by the ancestors during their stay on earth. Okay, so this should not be a justification for consuming alcohol. Now, you might have someone who died before you, and that person was very fond of alcohol. So you should not actually start drinking alcohol. Okay, now alcohol, it is very debatable Alcohol is, alcohol falls under the quality of sattva, rajas, and tamas also. Okay, there are certain conditions where alcohol behaves as a very sattvic element. Under certain conditions, alcohol behaves as a very rajasic element, and then under certain conditions, alcohol behaves as a very tamasic element. So one should not, in the name of consuming food that was relished by the ancestors, one should not actually make this an excuse of having alcohol. Okay. So these are the ways in which we can develop an unseen rapport with our relations in the other world as they shower us with their bountiful blessings. So this is the objective of all Pitru Paksha rituals. You need the bountiful blessings of your ancestors so that you can reach the throne that is represented by the nakshatra of Magha. All right, so we come to the end of this. We come to the end of this session. I really appreciate all of you for sitting through it. We have completed 1.5 hours of our session. So I'll see most of you are ready. I hope most of you are ready for the Panchanga class tomorrow. We'll see you tomorrow. And from the 16th, we will have a session on Saturn. We'll have a brief understanding of the esoteric nature of Saturn, and then we will go for the rituals and remedies that can be performed to appease this planet of Saturn. Okay, and I guarantee, it is my guarantee, that after that session, it will not be a single session. Okay, it will not be a single session. It will be a cluster of classes that we will have. So once that session is completed, I guarantee that all of you who attend that session live, it is very important to attend it live, because recorded classes will never give you the feeling of live classes, right? So once you attend that live session, your understanding of Saturn will never be the same again. You will never, you'll never see Saturn as a malefic planet, or you'll never see Saturn as the most disastrous planet, something that people have made this thing out to be. Okay, they make people afraid in the name of Saturn. Okay, and Dr. Sa will actually enjoy it, because we will cover a lot of things that are related to his problems, his health problems that he is currently facing. All right then, thank you everyone. I again appreciate the time that you took out to join this class. As for the students of the Panchanga Foundation Masterclass, I'll see you tomorrow at 7:30 on the scheduled time. And for the rest, I'll see you on Saturday. Thank you so much. Namaste, everyone.